A lot of people are not going to want to hear this, but here is the bad news. Sometimes violence is the answer. And I know that sounds horrible. It sounds like against everything what we want to happen in democracy. But I'd like to remind you of the most controversial amendment in our Constitution, in the very Bill of Rights, where we've enshrined this concept right there. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, okay, it is a terribly worded amendment. It is the Second Amendment. It's about why we have so many guns in the United States. And the first line, a well-regulated militia, is a direct reference to the militias that fought the British to secure this country, its freedoms. And it is also one of the largest reasons why people in the United States keep and bear arms as well. It's the fear of a tyrannical government overreaching, and it's really hard to, disarm people who are armed and to put your will on them. And also, I think it's really important to note that implicit in that founding document is the idea that sometimes freedom of speech is not enough to change the status quo. That is this is like the First Amendment is freedom of speech, and the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. There's a reason why the revolutionary people who wrote those founding documents put it in that order, because the first thing you need to do is try to use reasoned arguments to come to a peaceful solution. And the second thing that people who want freedom need to do is take up arms. This is what they were saying. This is that document that even some people have said is divinely inspired. I disagree with that, but people have said this of that document. Certainly there is a rational reason why it happened in that order: free speech, organization, freedom of religion, and then the right to bear arms. And the reason why I'm talking about this, that you probably already know, is because Luigi Mangione shot and killed the CEO of United Healthcare in a protest against our insanely destructive and horrible privatized insurance industry, which denies healthcare to people who need it. People are literally dying over and over again because they are denied care by insurers like United Healthcare, but also many of the other ones. United Healthcare is the worst perpetrator because they are the biggest of them all, and they are known for denying 30% of their claims. Luigi Mangione had a back surgery that was, a pretty serious, lower spine surgery. He actually posted a photo of it on his Twitter page, and he is a victim of these corrupt institutions, which we have survived with under pain of extortion for my entire lifetime. Right? Obamacare came by, and Obamacare wasn't very good. It made it incrementally better, but these incremental changes are not solving the problem of big money controlling the way you live and the way you heal. A fundamental human right, the access to scientific medicine, has been denied, and this has pushed people over into wellness grifters. Whole other subject. It has made people fundamentally insecure. And to say that violence can never work denies the very origin of the country that we live in right now. I'm gonna quote a couple more things from the various manifestos that Luigi Mangione wrote. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but here's the last line of the piece of paper that Mangione had in his pocket when he was arrested. It is not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly power games at play. Evidently, I am the first to face it with such brutal honesty. He is saying that we all know the problem. You put into YouTube, you scroll problems with American private insurance, and you're going to get hundreds of videos of denied claims, of investigative reports, of raising awareness of exactly how bad the situation is. And you're also going to see that has not been solved. We have had ridiculously slow changes. The best we had was Obamacare, which was a travesty. And it gave slight access to people on the very low end of the income spectrum. People in true poverty already had access, and it made people who were just above that poverty line, it gave them a little bit more access. But we have this giant middle class that is being constantly extorted by insurers. And this is probably one of the fundamental pieces of rage underlying the current election. But it is an issue that both the right and the left agree on pretty much 100%, if they're not in the top 1%, is that our health care is horrible, it is unfair, and people are dying. And I gotta say, this particular CEO, any murder is bad. Murdering people is by its nature, not a good thing. But a systematic murder is also really bad, right? Systematic murder, like, I don't know, so let's say genocide. He's obviously not committing genocide, but genocide is bad. And often the person committing genocide, the leader, is not the one actually shooting people. Like, I don't think Adolf Hitler shot any Jews in his life. He didn't need to. He was the guy up at the top. The Rwandan genocide. It wasn't the people broadcasting those messages over the radio that got people that started the pogroms. But these are the people who are responsible. And Luigi Mangione probably shouldn't have shot Thompson. It was we should have had a world where we can just talk about our problems and then change the system for the better, because we can all see the problems. But clearly it has not happened. As he said, it is not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly power games at play. There is power at the very top that is controlling everything that we can do. And when I break my leg, or I get hit by a bus and I break my leg, I don't have the ability to go shop at different hospitals for the best care, right? I just don't have that. You don't have that ability. And you can build $1 million for a minor accident, and all Americans are living in this paradigm of fear because of it. Okay, I'm going to read another piece of Mangione's manifesto. This was actually posted on Goodreads, where he was reading the Unabomber manifesto. Now, obviously, he's reading the Unabomber manifesto and he's commenting on it. And it was recorded before it was taken down. There were screenshots, and we have the screenshot. Here is what he said at the end of his review of the Unabomber manifesto. Remember, the Unabomber was sending bombs to big corporations trying to make political change. It didn't work, but he did scare a lot of CEOs. This is the end of Luigi's Goodreads review. We're animals just like everything else on this planet, except we've forgotten the law of the jungle and bend over for our overlords when any other animal would recognize the threat and fight to the death for their survival. Then he quotes, "Violence never solved anything is a statement uttered by cowards and predators." And I know this really hits me to the core, because we have we live in a world of deferred violence, right? We live in a world where we can recognize threats, but they're not immediate in front of us, right? It's not like tigers coming to kill us. It's actually our healthcare companies denying claims, and that's what kills us. And because of that, we don't fight tooth and claw. Well, Luigi Mangione decided to take a fight for his life. Something that he has obviously been denied claims. I mean, I assume he's been denied claims from the image of his broken back. And he took it into his own hands. And for this, I don't know. I think that this is the reason why Mangione is a folk hero now. He will, and I hope he's probably going to say some really dumb shit in the future. He's going to say some dumb stuff that's going to be twisted and undermined, and maybe he's not perfectly smart. I mean, obviously he did graduate as valedictorian of his high school. He went to a Ivy League school, but he's going to be twisted and made to look like a terrorist in order to make us not realize what the actual problem is. But there is a moment right now where people are galvanized in support of him, and maybe we can get back to that free speech part, right, of the whole Constitution, and say, okay, now that we know that violence could be on the cusp of a conflagration, that we have a chance now to do something. I want to go back to this question of violence not changing anything. We have this hope that freedom of speech and organizing and whatnot is really the way to create political change. But I know we've been doing that my whole life, and America has changed just incrementally for the worst over and over again. We have the largest wealth gap between the rich and the poor now than we have ever had in history, to some degree. There's some ways to modulate. We also have a reasonable middle class where a lot of people are reasonably comfortable. But the gap between the rich and the poor is insane right now. And I want you to remember that throughout the course of human history, violence was usually the way that political change happened. Like every royal family has a history of murdering potential rivals, usually, princes and princesses murdering one another for control of the dynasty. Murder was the way. Not only that, in the modern era, look at the U.S. military. Like we're fighting Al-Qaeda. Right? We're fighting ISIS. These are bad people, right? They are murderers. They are horrible people. And we freely assassinate them. We send cruise missiles in. We sent in SEAL Team 6. We killed bin Laden with a targeted strike in Pakistan, in Abbottabad. We have also participated in extrajudicial killings, trying to topple the governments of Argentina, Cuba, Ethiopia, and many other countries. In El Salvador with the Sandinistas, with all sorts of companies, we have directly meddled in political affairs by assassinating and killing people who oftentimes were actually the Democratic candidates. And it just didn't suit our political interest to do it. So America writ large, we're pro-assassination. It's just like you don't want to be, when you are the powerful person, you want to talk about how you're not in favor of assassinations, probably because they don't want to be assassinated, right? Political leaders are always saying that we are above assassination. Targeted political killings are never the way. Well, this is because the way historically has been killing the leaders of groups. And why is it that we live in a world where instead of the politicians suffering the consequences of their actions, we live in a world where the body politic, the people that the politicians control, are the ones who die on the front lines of wars? Right? Why is it the powerful person who makes the decision is fine, and all of the people underneath suffer the consequences, either as soldiers or in this case in healthcare, because our leaders actually have great healthcare, but the people, we don't. We have terrible healthcare. So I don't know. Yes, violence is bad. I don't want to be part of it. I hate the idea of revolution. But one thing I will say about what Mangione did is he went right to the person he really felt was responsible. And then you see that these healthcare organizations are they're scared right now, right? They're trying to protect themselves. They're taking their identities offline because they know that they could be targets. And ideally, we would live in a world where the next step would be changing the healthcare system for the better and taking private money out of it. Okay, Obamacare, when it came about, it was the worst possible conjunction of private paying, private medicine that we had for 30, 40 years, and the idea of the public option, like the public could come in and be a single payer. And there was this idea of a mandate where everyone would have to buy a private insurance plan. But because of that, the competition would create a system that was like more fairer. Okay, but then the mandate got dropped. But even with the mandate, it was basically just paying taxes to a private company. Well, because you had to pay the money. So you were required to pay. People were very upset with being required to pay, because it was like being taxed. But then the taxes went to a private insurance company. Why not just single payer? It was the no-brainer thing. Well, why? Because the lobbyists, the people who worked for Brian Thompson, didn't want the system to change. And now there's an outcry in the top echelons of power that this should never happen. People will say in the comments that I am like a fascist or something for saying that violence sometimes works. And people will say that I'm a monster for agreeing that, he had a good point. I'm not endorsing murder, but I'm also saying I damn well understand it. And so I would like to see the world where, I don't know, maybe we change. And if we don't change, I'm expecting that other people will be like, this Mangione character, well, he had a good idea. And I don't know where that goes. Personally, I have decided to opt out of insurance. I have dropped my insurance. I no longer pay insurance. For health insurance, I pay for other types of insurance, because I think the system is horribly corrupt. And I'm doing another video, a real reported video, not just a screed, on my main channel that I'm working on right now. And thank you for everyone who suggested that this is actually what I have to work on. And for now, this was my rant, and I reserve the right to change my opinion on all of this and to have another rant very soon, because this really, really makes me angry. From Pokebear LLC in Denver, Colorado, this was Scott Carney Does Stuff on the Internet. Bye.